Good morning. This is going to be an alignment-based asana class. I'm going to focus today the theme of union. Yoga in Sanskrit, the root of yoga translates as union. And the definition that I would ask us to work with a little bit today is effortful union, that there's an active participation from us, the yogis who practice yoga. And there's an effort, there's work required. Even if the work is surrender, we could be doing the work of letting go into our union. And union with what? Union with everything. Whatever is happening in the present moment, our body, our breath, what that's going to hopefully look like and be enjoyable in our practice today is I was picturing just kind of moving about my day in the house. That's where I'm spending more days than usual lately. And just finding little moments to practice asanas and to have there be that type of thing we associate with an asana class, that feeling of, oh, I'm one with my breath, I'm really in my body, my movements are conscious, to try to find moments in our day where we could pepper that in. So just kind of like functional little mini yoga sessions is how I'm approaching this. I've been playing with that in my own body and it felt good. So you never have to not be doing asanas is one way to think about it. I love that idea. So we're going to start in a meditation. You could sit comfortably on pillows or props. You may want to have some props nearby if you're grabbing things. You may want to grab maybe a chair so that if at any point today there'll be some balance challenges. Maybe you want to have a chair nearby. Maybe now you're sitting on a pillow or a block. So props you might need. I think that was it. Okay, so for our meditation, when you're ready, we'll be seated with your legs crossed, or you could be kneeling. You could be sitting in that chair if the floor is not your best place to meditate. And we'll just be drawing our attention first to our body and the shape that we're in. See if you can feel your bones, the alignment of your body, the stacked head over heart, over hips of your posture. See if you can feel two sitting bones underneath your seat, no matter what you're sitting on. You'd want to have awareness of two halves of your pelvis, two sitting bones. See if you can feel for them. Maybe the pubic bones, even the front of the pelvis, are in your awareness, and you can feel heaviness and fullness through them. Feel for the weight of your thigh bones, your shin bones, your feet, your toes. Again, no matter what arrangement your legs are in, see if you can feel the leg bones themselves getting heavy, maybe even adding a little extra pressure down through the knees, the shins, the heels, and feet. And then bring your awareness to see if you can breathe through your nose today. And if that's not possible, slightly opening your lips, breathing through the lips is another option here. But bring your awareness to your nose where you would be breathing, if possible, and notice the sensation of breath around your nostrils. See if you can notice subtle sensations of breathing at the tip of your nose, upper lip, the skin, the surface, the most subtle awareness possible of breath happening. See if you can notice the breath temperature Yeah, maybe the breath is a little bit cooler as it enters your body and a little bit warmer as it is leaving. Just noticing as sensitively as possible that breath alchemy, the chemistry, the change of your body has mingled with breath, the magic of it, the anatomy, the physiology of breath being warmer as it leaves you. And then bring your awareness to the top of your head, the crown of your head, and be as sensitive as possible to the scalp, the skin at the top of your head, this surface of where your crown meets the room, and just be with that sensation. Or sometimes it's a complete lack thereof, but you know that the fingers may be just slightly touching, or bringing awareness to the crown of your head. Be as sensitive as your powerful place for our sensitivity. And again, it can be accessed anytime throughout the day to kind of physically assemble our awareness to our higher self. And again, I'll just run through them again. So anytime you're ever feeling stressed or anxious, or you just feel like you can't take a deep breath, you can't get a full breath, these are some tips, just some tricks that have worked for me are in. Noticing those three centers and just noticing how that feels. Yoga union with your body through the central column is a great place to start. Effortful union with the present moment. And then the foundation, so the sitting bones, the leg bones, down into the feet. Noticing how the foundational, what's touching the earth, what's touching the chair, whatever's touching down in your body towards the earth is also another fantastic way to be in active participation with presence. The breath, and especially noticing breath as it enters and leaves your body. The very surface, most subtle sensitivity to breath is one of the ways I recommend grounding our awareness would be of benefit. Sometimes we're in such a rush to get a deep breath or to feel calm as a result of the breath. And I would not recommend that. I would recommend and then that crown, the top of the head. I don't know if that works for me. It's something I've been working a lot with lately. It's newer for me, but if that works for you, it's so subtle, and it's it's closer to our higher centers of awareness, the third eye, and the physical spaces where we do have some gray matter. Some neurons live up that way, so it's always fun to bring more awareness up there. Okay, we'll bring our hands to prayer. We'll work with some of these points again, but for now, we'll sort of bow to each other and dedicate this practice to ourselves and all sentient beings, knowing peace, knowing union. And we'll get started. So I couldn't help but let the cat boys in here. Speaking of union, there's going to be 2 kitties in with me, but we'll see how that goes. We can kick them out at any time. So we're going to start in a squatting position. So find yourself in standing with your feet a little wider than hip width. And I'm going to be facing, just for a moment here, then I'll show this from the side. We're going to take a flowing squat sequence where we'll straighten the legs and lift the arms up overhead, and then squat down, and any amount of folding, reaching forward through the fingers. From that position, we'll stay for a breath or 2. And then we'll lift the heels, turn them in, and round down, almost like any sort of child's pose, if you know that, where you just round down in and out. On the way back up, we'll pause with the fingers reaching forward, bent knees, all the way back up to stand. We'll take that again now with the side view. We're going to do this many times, so we'll get it. Here's a tall lifted version of our starting position. Squatting down, trying to come with a flat back, fingers reaching forward. We'll stay here a little bit longer than you want to usually. And then lifting the heels, turning the knees out. You can round down, almost like just bowing towards the earth. Like child's pose, rounding, dropping your head. Flattening the feet, squaring the feet, reaching forward through the fingers. Pushing strong through the legs, coming up to stand. And if your arms get tired, you can take breaks in between. Again and again, maybe with breath. Maybe it's an inhale in the lifted shape, and an exhale to come down into that first squat. You stay there for another inhale maybe, and then lifting the heels, you can turn your knees out and just go any amount. Maybe this is where you want to touch the chair. Coming back up to that halfway lifted shape, and then pushing into your feet all the way up to stand, and maybe you take a break with the arms. I just realized it's heavy. By the fourth one, I'm tired. Inhaling up, exhaling into that flat back squat. Inhaling there, rounding down, letting the heels lift, the knees turn out. Inhaling back up to that challenging place, flat back, arms reaching forward. And then exhaling, push the floor away, maybe you can come to rest. I won't say it each time, I'll just do several more rounds with you. And of course, you could take breaks at any time. Maybe you want to close your eyes. Once you've got the hang of it, you could close your eyes, you could make your movements very personal to you. They don't have to look like me on the screen. This is just a very functional kind of squatting flow. Your body that really, as long as you are moving with integrity, moving relatively in this flow is just yours to create. Just a few more rounds. Maybe you're challenging yourself these last few. Longer, stronger spine. Maybe you're not lifting your heels as high, really challenging your ankles and your feet to fold more so. There's lots of ways to make it a little heavier or harder. Maybe you feel some of those places that you can push these last few rounds. Maybe this is your last full round. We'll stand in a tall mountain pose when you finish. You can have your hands to prayer now in front of your heart. Hopefully your legs feel warm, your upper back feels warm, you feel awake. Notice the head, heart, and hips alignment. Notice your legs bearing weight. Notice your breath. So you can even notice the very crown of your head. Take a wider version of a squat sequence. I think this time I'll be facing you the whole time. So you have your feet much wider than your hips now. This could be 3-4 feet apart. And we're going to bend the knees and turn the toes out, heels in. So this is going to have some fancy footwork. So let's have that visible. Fancy footwork, here it comes. So the heels are in, the toes are out, coming into like a goth squat, as we would call it in our yoga tradition. Maybe arms rest at first, kind of getting ready for wider legged versions of these functional everyday kinds of things. My idea was you didn't have to pull out a yoga mat. You didn't have to do a sun salutation first. It was like, hey, I want some flow in my body, some movement, some good energy. I can just do that. You walk into a room, you have a minute, squat like a goddess. Just any old place in your house, in your life. Where are you? In your office. So from here, this requires that fancy footwork. So lifting a heel, you turn that heel out, and then I'm going to try to press mine to touch the ground as I reach the arms up overhead away from it. And maybe stay there for a nice full deep inhale. And then as you exhale, we'll come back to that starting squat. And please, at any time, if you're needing breaks, you take them. We'll take the opposite side. So you start to lift one heel, you turn it out. You side stretch away from it. As much reach through the fingers and the upper body as you wish. And then we'll come back into that starting shape. And again, this can be really fluid with your breath. Maybe it's an inhale to lift your arms, and then an exhale to extend. It's like side angle pose in yoga a little bit. Maybe you inhale back up to center, and you exhale to return. There's no right or wrong with the breath as long as you're breathing you in. There's always ways to make. You could be putting your hand on a chair. I guess you would need two now, huh? Your hand on your knee, that works also. And then coming back, so it's just one arm lifting. You don't have to touch both hands to the sky. You can have more support from your arms as you take these extending side bends. If you wanted to make it harder, pressing that heel to the ground, you could try just hovering that foot a little bit. Man, I love that one. It's just fun. Don't let it trip you up. Don't let your ego get in the way of a good time. You could just be coming light on those toes and just see what it's like to take a couple little hops. It doesn't have to be a long balance challenge if you don't want it to be. And back. And again, remember you can take breaks. I'm going to be doing this for another few minutes, so bear with me and or play with me. See how much fun is it to take kind of like a hovering half moon, kind of, if you know your yoga shapes. And again, once you've got the pattern that I'll be offering, there's 3 more of these dynamic movement sequences. Once you've got the pattern, you could just close your eyes. You could pause and put on your favorite music. You could really just take it into your own. You don't even have to look at my next variation, bringing that hand to the ground. Or to Chandrasana and Asana classes, there's all these variations. And if you know them, you're needing my permission. This is just you cartwheeling side to side in your kitchen. That was my dream for you. Things you can just do your own way, anywhere, anytime. Things, by that I mean movements. And let's say you're sitting on a chair and you're like, wow, my legs are really not feeling great today, or my posture, my head, heart, and hips, somewhere around that area is not okay with this. You could just be taking the movements in a different way. It's a side stretch, side opening. Have it your way. You might find that one side is way easier than the other, and maybe then you want to challenge yourself to do the harder side, extra reps or hold it longer. Experiment with where in that harder side where's the last place that it feels good or easy? Maybe like as you're coming to here, you feel a catch. Could you stop there? Could you take a few breaths? Trying to smooth any places in your side lunging sequence that rob you of that union with it, that you have to kind of compensate and go around it. Can you stop there and go through it, into it, go deeper? Sometimes that's counterintuitive, but you go to the last place where you really could still be with the shape. And we're going to take one more full round, both sides, so that you end on the side that you want. So really do just find your final round here, ending on whichever side felt like the last one. And then when you're ready, you'll come back to that really wide stance that we started with, and then feet parallel now, or even turning the toes in a little bit. And you can slide your hands down and take a fold. I'll show this one from the side. This is kind of similar to our first one, our squats that went on a forward plane with our body hinging forward, but with much wider legs. So go as wide as you feel comfortable, have an unlocked, soft back of the knee, and drape your upper body down. Come back to the head, the heart, and the hips. Maybe now it's more like hips, heart, head. If you're upside down, notice the points of you that are touching the earth, and can you bring more weight to them? Notice your breathing, as specific to the reality of it as possible, not rushing ahead to what you want from it or what you want it to be. And then speaking of rushing ahead, notice your head. So maybe now it's upside down. Maybe there's more blood coming to it. What does that mean for scalp sensitivity? It's even higher than our highest logic. However you'd like to come back up to stand. Sometimes it's nice to slide your hands up your legs. If you ever get dizzy, sometimes it's nice to pause halfway up, kind of let your blood flow redistribute, and then push all the way up to stand. So we're coming into some more balance challenges. This one I thought about. You could have the chair in front of you, box, or even it's just a wall. So finding the sequence and then adjusting so that if the balance is tricky, right leg forward. I realize it doesn't always look the same on the screen, but it's my right leg forward. This is going to be a starting shape. And then however you want to get that right leg back behind you, you can slide the toes back and hinge forward any amount. I'm going to start just by touching heart and low hips area, kind of with my hands, and then sliding back up and forward. So it's still the right leg, and it'll be the right leg for so many rounds. Now, instead of toes on the ground, toes could be lifted, and instead of sliding the leg back, you could be hovering the leg back, coming into any amount of a forward fold. And this is why I thought the chair might be nice. And then pushing into that left leg to come up to stand. So you could be like, every other time I shake out my standing foot, that's how it's going to work, no problem. But how about a couple of rounds? So how much of a kicking back, we would call this like a split leg fold or standing splits. This we might kind of call it hand to knee, an asana, familiar kind of sequence. But instead we're just doing it for forced union with your body. Who is not having forced union with their standing leg yet? If that's the case, you could come up onto the ball of your left foot. Instead of reaching down with your hands or for a chair, you can reach your arms away from that foot. Okay, really just a couple more of these and we should be good, right? You feel that standing leg working hard. The lifted leg as well. And again, if you're really getting your arms into it, then probably you're feeling some good upper back or upper body awareness as well. But again, head, heart, and hips. What's touching the earth? That one's hard to miss here. The breathing, that would be nice. You could inhale up and exhale down each time. And then that crown of the head. Last few rounds, make them as big as you wish. Maybe even close your eyes, make them your own. our last full cycle here. Take your time coming up. When you bring that leg down, let's put it behind the standing leg and kind of move the back knee. So the back leg is the one that was just doing all of the lifting. And the one in front is like, oh, thank God, take some weight. Bring that back knee forward, for me anyway, and then take a cross leg fold here. You can do anything you like in the fold. You can hang your head, roll your shoulders, and sway your body side to side. Of all the pieces I put together here, this one I actually do the most. I've been liking these one-legged hinge squats, I guess. It's like, why pick up your sock with 2 feet on the ground like this if you could pick up your sock like that? Isn't that more fun? But you could also have the toes on the ground, just challenging yourself. It's one that I've actually enjoyed a lot through the years, so feel free to play with it. So now coming back up to stand, for me it's the right leg down, left leg forward. So doing the opposite side. I don't know if for whatever reason, why would that be helpful? No, this would be helpful. You'd be seeing the lifted leg. So again, just taking this one as a brand new, fresh start. We don't know what's going to happen. This is the opposite side. It could be totally different, hinging any amount. If the whole time you're doing this, you keep those toes on the ground and they're tapping forward, tapping back, but your spine with grace, you have a strong standing leg, your crown is open, you win. It's not about lifting the leg high to get the benefit. It's this full embodiment that puts you into union, oneness with this moment. That's the goal. What's the right on this side? You want to take a break, but do challenge, this is a weaker part of my body. So I would come back and do more. I just definitely need to shake that out on this side. But in other words, again, just when you would say, oh, I'm not going to do as many because my calves are burning and it's hard, versus, oh, this one's harder. How can I be compassionate? How can I give my rooted leg a break, but still come back into it and maybe work with awareness of symmetry that you're supporting. All right, so we will make this our last one. So maybe you're going deep within for this one, moving awareness all the way to the crown of the head. And when you're ready, it's that leg in front. So you would bring your left leg behind if you're with me. You put something, underneath that standing hip and fold over it. So from here, taking a downward facing dog, and this can be done, so downward dog in asana yoga, we typically would do with our hands on the floor, our feet to the back of a mat, and we have our body up, high plank. That would be the distance for hands and feet. But sometimes that's not what you got. Sometimes you want to put your hands on that chair, albeit the wall. You can put your hands on a wall. Not the most visible, but hands on the wall. And that might be again, if you're just quick grabbing some asana, grabbing some embodiment on the fly, moving around your physical space that you're in, maybe hands on the chair or the wall make more sense sometimes, because Not everywhere do you want to put your hands on the floor. That's what I've learned. So wherever your hands are, press into them. This is the first time your hands were really part of that down. Remember we said the foundational levers, whatever's touching the earth. What is it like to root through it, to put pressure into it on purpose? So if your hands are on the chair, that's down. If it's a wall, please just press forward. But if it's on the earth, down into the center of the earth. The arms become stable like the legs. And this can free up more energy for that crown. When your arms start to really take weight consciously, when the upper centers of the spine start to provide stability energy to your upper body contact points, even more energy and awareness could go to the crown of the head. See if you can feel it. And then you may want to just drop to your knees and sit back and give your legs a break for a second. When I put this together, I was like, oh yeah, then this one, that one, and I'm like, wow, I'm tired. So I hadn't put them all together in a class format. If you'd like to rest here in Child's Pose, maybe you're not tired and you're like, well, let's go. Just a moment then, you could sit and hover in Hero's Pose, an excellent place just to regroup. But maybe you're tired and you'd like to let your arms, head, legs kind of fold down towards the earth now, letting even your forehead bear weight, even letting the bridge of the nose and forehead bear weight in Child's Pose. The more we bring the grounded, surrender to gravity to higher aspects of our spine, including even the forehead bone, that's even more mobility of energy for the crown. So no shame in taking a restful shape. Lots of good benefits there. All right, so that was our rest. This next one, kind of done in stages. Just do the best you can. Like I said, this gets really tricky with balance, and then there'll be a time where modifying the legs might just make it doable and more fun. Do that. Make it doable and more fun, shall we? But from down dog, we will step our right foot forward, or from hands and knees, one way or another, getting your right foot forward towards your hands. And then your left hand is going to bear a good bit of weight. So maybe you want to bring your left hand to the floor kind of far away from your right foot. Sometimes if you take them further away from each other, you can put more weight in that left hand. We're just going to take some arm circles. So your right hand. So the right foot is forward and the right hand is circling. And I always just try to picture like a clock, as you go around through the circle, imagining 1 through 12, right? All the points along that clock. You don't even have to be seeing the numbers, but just the full circle concept, trying to have all of the edges touched by your swinging arm, maybe an inhale up. And that back knee could be on the ground. Your hand could instead be on the chair. Let's switch directions here. And then if you haven't done it yet, maybe you're watching your lifted hand as it moves, slow and easy. Your eyes follow the fingers, and that can really get your ribs and your neck and your head involved in these twists. Maybe it's an inhale on the way up and an exhale on the way down. This will be our last circle. So from a lifted back knee, stepping that left leg forward into eagle. If you know eagle legs, go for it, friends. But this is kind of similar to our transition that we had, where you bring your left leg over the right, sitting into that eagle shape. So let me just say, while you're taking your eagle, there's lots of options. This is when the legs can get creative. Your top leg, you can just have those toes to the ground. You can try to have the feet closer together, a little more challenge to your balance. And in eagle, you can even try to get those toes around the back of the bottom shin, calf. And then we'll take both arms at the same time. Circles in and in as you go up. Sorry, inhaling as you go up and exhaling as you come around. Maybe your hands touch prayer in between. And again, feel free to have those toes on the ground. You could be sitting on a chair. Arm circles are just good for you. So let's switch directions if you haven't yet. Finding the opposite way. You're going back as you go up maybe. Forward as you go down. We'll make this our last time. And then we'll keep the leg on top. It's the left leg on top. We'll step forward onto it well. The left leg was on top, now it's forward, so you're leaning onto a flat left foot. And again, take that cross leg forward foot. Now what I did here, which I'm just like, what was I thinking? So ambitious. What I did here was keep the left hand down again and take that right arm for some circles. But I don't know why, it's just feeling like maybe that's not the best thing to do. Maybe your arms are tired, legs are tired. But it's just a really interesting because your left thigh is pinning your right thigh in place. So to get that right arm free for a circle again, there is something a little juicy about the deep obliques, getting a release. Oh, sorry. Getting those deep obliques to open and close, but you could be like, no thanks, we did circles already, check. Switch directions if you're circling. This will be your last circle if you're still circling. And then let's come back into downward dog. So maybe walking forward, moving your right foot back, then your left foot back, or child's pose. This could be just like that restful place that you're like, yay, not working hard, yay, not lunging. So find that place. Whatever's touching the earth, try to root down into it. And there's so much magic there. Like that is one of there's so many, they're all good, but that is a really good one to find the places where you are touching earth. And then either just noticing them, but also then bringing conscious intention of extra pressure. So that might feel like the whole palm gets a little bit heavier on purpose. There's some part of you, muscle energy is engaged to activate flatter palms, or even just a slightly heavier forehead. Slightly, you don't have to smash it, but bringing conscious extra weight down towards earth. Hard to overstate the value of that one. And then one way or another, getting the left foot forward. Second side of arm circles, some twisty leg lunges coming your way. So again, getting the right hand flat. That was what I thought might be important. And again, that can be with your back knee down or up. That could be on a chair or even the wall. But the right hand really bearing weight when your left arm goes through those cycles. So you know what's coming. You're moving through some circles here. You could close your eyes, or you could let your eyes follow your fingers. And then we'll switch directions. And if you're like, I want to do the circles, but this is bothering my shoulder or something's not right, another thing you can do is just touch your shoulder and make it an elbow circle. So there's much shorter levers and you can still go through the circle without full elbow extension. Let's make this our last time here. And then we're going to lift the back knee so that we can take that transition again, really strong, active, the same thing we did in another sequence. Standing raise to get that right leg up and over the left. So right leg on top this time. And again, toes to the ground is for greater balance help. The closer together, that's more challenging. And then having those right toes wrapped behind the left calf is like very precarious for balance. 2 arms, circling wide, eagle wings. This is eagle pose. Switching directions if you've been inhaling forward, inhale back and up. And releasing that foot to the ground, kind of stepping on it. And I'm like, my weight had to go a great distance from the standing leg being back like this, that foot coming down, shifting weight forward onto it, bringing knees together, bend slightly, and forward fold. I mean, if you have the range of motion, have your feet side by side. I should have said that before, but it's hard for a lot of us to do that without hyperextending the back knee. So a forward shift can help keep that back knee over its foot. And then your hands could be on that chair again or the wall. And it was the left arm potentially circling if you're like, let's go, helicopter this right up off the earth. Again, there's something about the right thigh is sort of pinning the left upper thigh, and mechanically in your core, there's some good benefit to that. If you keep that back knee bent forward, you can get a nice extra kind of iliacus kind of glide mobility through that oblique body. Switch directions if you haven't yet. And even if you're just forward folding and breathing, you can get the same thing. The circling of the arm is just adding a whole bunch of rib movements into it. Finishing your last one. Stepping back into down dog or child's pose as you wish. Forward. When you're ready, we'll just take some Chaturanga. I mean, the most common, where I live in the world, one of the more common flowing sequences, a lot to sort of harmonize and create union in our asana classes, is the Chaturanga, Dandasana, Vinyasa. So if you know those words, so it's this, high push-up, straight elbows, low push-up, bent elbows. It really is just push-ups. Fundamentally, mechanically, if you're newer to yoga, you're like, what's happening? We're doing push-ups. But it does not have to be big ones. You can just have the bend be very minimal. And then the unbend, give yourself as much time as you want. Again, you could be on a chair and you could just be working through the push-up shape there or on a wall. And actually, I recommend that. I work with clients a lot doing their chaturangas on walls. So if you're like, yeah, I really don't want to strain my wrists, neck, or shoulders, you could do your you know, push, when you bend your elbows, your face is moving towards the wall. And you can do them on the floor on your knees or your toes. And you can do these anytime, anywhere, wherever. When it's safe to put your hands on a surface, you can use that surface to really pump some of those weight-bearing actions into the arms. Remember, when the arms bear weight, and especially heavy weight with the elbows bent, if done with good alignment, it can really activate and liberate energy up the neck, up the brainstem, into that crown. What if we just did 10 Chaturangas every time we walked into the living room? What would happen? We would just have lots of good upward moving energy to the crown that day. Let's try one more time. And then child's pose or down dog, take rest. Here's our last lunge sequence coming up. Ooh, yeah. We're gonna go less reps than any of the other ones so far. This is a shout out to Sonia, one of my favorite asana teachers at West End. Kind of stole this from Sonia. Thanks, Sonia. So she calls it Omg Pose. So it's again, these cross legs. So it's my right foot. I don't know, like doesn't even look, okay. The right foot comes behind the left foot. Back in the day, I would have called this a curtsy lunge, and I would have had like dumbbells, right? So the right leg comes behind the left leg, curtsy lunge style, and then you take a fold. Now here, you could just be reaching your fingers up towards the sky. You could interlace your fingers and reach your knuckles up towards the sky. You could bend your knees as much as you wish. Then to come up, it's that same, so for me, this is my right leg behind, the leg that's been behind. You can either just tap those toes out to the side, reaching the arms up, or if you want, you can take the leg up in the air. Okay, so again and again, so this kind of lunge, curtsy, fingers bind, knuckles reach high if you can, and then I interlace my fingers up in the air, flip the palms and take them up if you want to do that. So there, our last full round. Interlace fingers, flipped palms up in the air is an option. Tree pose. So if you know how to place that foot for tree all by itself, you know, moving it up your leg without using your hands, go for it. If you need your hands to get it there, no problem. And if you would rather have your toes on the ground, also no problem. Tree pose, a couple of rounds of breath. This will be our last in-breath. And as you exhale, you can release that leg and shake that out. Second side. So this is my left leg, coming behind for the curtsy. Now, if you notice which thumb you like to put on top, put the opposite thumb. So as you bind your hands, you know, maybe you notice, oh, I always put the same thumb on top. So maybe this time you're trying the opposite one. And lifting up. Ooh, my bum ankle. Tapping the toes, absolutely not a problem. Oh, right now my lunge looks very, you know, my feet are close together, no problem. Make it fun, make it work for you. Fun. Make it fun work. Make it feel like, yeah, I'm exploring end ranges. I'm taking my joints places they just haven't been, maybe for the last hour if we're moving about your day, but you're exploring it, and there's a scientific term for it called refreshing your homunculus. The homunculus is a part in the brain where we have a map of our body. So there's like sensory motor cortices that tell us where we are in space. And if we don't use it, we lose it, right? And that happens over seconds, minutes, weeks, months, years. So at any time, just exploring the edges of your seeing with science while we do more reps than one. This will be the last time that we lift. And this time, if you wish, you can bring that foot to your inner thigh. You can get it way up in there with your hand, or again, keep your toes to the ground for tree pose. You can have those same bound lifted palms. So yeah, just finding one of the many benefits of the asanas is it refreshes our map of our body. We sort of get a bigger picture to work from, get a bigger blueprint to explore who we are and where we are and what we're doing. We'll make this our last in-breath here. As you exhale, release. So come back to your meditative seat, which again can be against a wall, on a chair. Freedom props. This I'm going to offer as Shavasana if you would prefer to just lie on your back and do completely nothing. That is definitely good refreshingness. Sometimes in the day you can just be comfortable on your back on the floor, use clothes as needed. But I'm going to again return us to that breath exercise. I think Sarah Switz is making a breakfast smoothie, but I don't know if you can hear that. But hey, let's meditate in the midst of whirling blenders or whatever's going on in the room around you. Come back to your physical body. So you can feel your head, heart, and hips, where they are in relationship to each other and the earth. So you can feel what's touching the earth, what part of your limbs is touching the earth. And at first, you could just notice. Maybe you just add a little something more, and especially if you're in Shavasana, that doesn't have to be muscle energy. Let it be surrender. Let it be a softening of the front body's muscles so that the back body gets heavier. And if you're seated, I would recommend just the weight of awareness is maybe like a nickel of extra weight down through the knees and the hands. Notice your breath entering and leaving your body. You don't have to change it at all. In fact, I wouldn't recommend that all the time. If that's your habit, is to try to make it do something and feel good and fill this or empty that. Sometimes it's really important to just notice it in reality with a flash of awareness at the surface level of your skin or lips or nostrils. And then bringing your awareness to the crown of your head. I will in just a moment be getting up to pause this, but I'd recommend if you have the time and space meditating for 10 or more minutes, keep going. So at the crown of the head, feeling the crown chakra, the energetic balance between our physical body and whatever the heavens are, the cosmos, the far-reaching expansive galaxy in which we sit on this planet together and breathe and do our best to be practicing our union. Thank you all so much for practicing with us. We do have a ongoing offering here from West End Yoga Studio. Thank you so much. Namaste.